when I think about it, Nissan is probably one of the brands, percentage-wise anyway, that has seen the most of its nameplates fall from grace over the last 2 decades. And that almost becomes a certainty when you include Infinity. And then that makes me think about Mitsubishi. And maybe that's why they... Oof. Wow, I really did take my mean pills this morning. But I say that while in the presence of this 2022 Nissan Altima, and look, to cut straight to the chase, this is a great sedan. I mean, with an exception or possibly two, it's one of the best Altimas that Nissan has ever produced. But it's too little too late. Thing is about the Altima, like the first two generations, 93 to 97, 98 to 2001, it was probably the only sedan that was ever at any given point considered to be a better purchase, more reliable than even a Toyota Camry. And then in 2002, Nissan just made our collective minds explode, because the third generation Altima was, I mean, I don't want to use the bad words, but it was bad crazy. V6, 250 or 260 horsepower, manual transmission, and it was spectacular, and it also essentially pretty much killed the Maxima at the same time, but it didn't really matter because it was fabulous. But then after that, I mean, Nissan introduced the fourth and fifth generation, Altimas, which were essentially fleet specials, facepalm fleet specials. But then again, I mean, Nissan sold millions and millions of them, so I don't know what I'm talking about. And then the sixth generation car came out for 2018, and they kind of attempted, I suppose, to have us all forget about the fourth and fifth generation cars. Which they did and didn't do, because this car essentially has everything that we've always wanted, almost everything that we've always wanted in an Altima. But like I said, it's too little too late. Not because it can't compete in the midsize sedan segment, because, well, it can't really compete with SUVs. Had Nissan introduced this as the follow-up to the third generation Altima, this would probably have turned out to be one of the greatest, and I do mean one of the greatest, mid-size sedans ever sold in Canada. Anyhow, in the following review, we're going to do the usual walk around, as I like to do, and then take it for a little spin. Here we go. Well, obviously, just as the rain starts coming down. Look, just on aesthetics alone, the sixth generation Altima is really beautiful. I mean, almost every angle of this car is purposeful, it's chiseled, it's detailed. I mean, look, the third generation Altima just, like I said, blew our collective minds because of the design, the performance, the space, and all of that. And had this followed up, as opposed to a mundane, milquetoast, vanilla, boring fourth generation car, there was no way any other automaker could possibly have hoped to catch this or beat it in the segment. I mean, well, it probably did outsell most of them except for the Camry, although the Accord did do well back in the day. Oh, so many words for no reason. Look, base price in the US for 2022 Altima is $24,750, and the top trim $34,450. In Canada, it starts at $30,198. One of the main reasons being that all-wheel drive is standard in the country, and the top trim is the Platinum all-wheel drive, same for the US, and it retails for $36,098. The base equipment, look, it's keyless entry, keyless start, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, heated front seats, 7-inch IP, 8-inch display. It's fairly well set up out of the box for just over 30 grand. This model, as you can see, is the SR Midnight Edition, which frankly is the best of all the worlds, because for only $32,798 you get, well, all this black trim, which kind of does justice to the car. It does include 19-inch wheels, navigation, heated steering wheel, paddle shifters, remote start, fog lights. And like I said, it's only $2,600 more than the base car. If you want to get the Platinum, I mean, for leather, Pro Pilot Assist, which in my experience is lackluster, Bose Audio, I mean, you got to spend an extra, what, almost $4,000? I can't math. $3,500 maybe. It's really, really not worth the money. I guess we've seen enough of the exterior of the car. It's beautiful. It's huge, the sedan, by the way. It's so much bigger than we think. Anyhow, let's just take a look at the trunk. Here we go. Oh, it's hailing. We're going inside right away. 437 liters of boot space. All right, that's enough. Look, back seat is enormous. I've had a bunch of small crossovers and SUVs over the last few weeks, even a Honda Ridgeline, and there's more room back there than there is in any of the other vehicles. I can't believe the weather. All right, so here are the touches that you get in the SR Midnight Edition. It's some really nice stuff. Fit finish is lovely, and there's really nothing negative to say about what's going on here. So let's just slide aboard. Start, stop. So there you go, your 7-inch IP display, which is right there. I like that it's configurable. There are a bunch of different menus. There you go. I have it on speed because it's usually the most useful, despite the analog readout right there. Here's your 8-inch display. The menus are fairly simple. There isn't anything crazy. I'm already on the home page. There's nothing crazy going on right here. It's very straightforward, very simple. Admittedly, a lot of the graphics and kind of the layout is, well, it's dated compared to a lot of stuff you can get in current cars. Press camera, because the resolution, I don't know if you can tell, well, maybe not. It's terrible. It reminds me of what Toyota has in most of its cars. It's terrible. There you go. But I mean, look, everything else, very straightforward. I love buttons. You can never go wrong with buttons. HVAC, very straightforward again. This is part of the SR package. You get the dual zone climate control, which is really nice. I mean, beyond this, you don't need much more. An actual shifter, yay! E-brake, what else is there? Oh yeah, down here. That, and I don't know why it's like this. This is, okay, so I'm going to go into drive just so you can see it. So D, and you see D right there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the shifter, and I'm going to press this little button. So that's essentially your sport mode. How uneventful is that? I love it. It's really, you know what? We have a sport mode, and there you go, and there it is. The dashboard itself is really, really nice, with the one exception, which is the pod, the plastic trim around the screen. It's as though they prepared long ago for an upgrade. So they just put some cheap-ish, different textured plastic around that they will replace with either a larger screen or something else in the near future. Oh well. Visibility is okay. As you can see, the base of the pillars with the mirror, it's fairly wide. Let's clean that up for a second. And we come around here, and there you go. You get the same massive blind spot there, but you can mostly work around it. I mean, the steering wheel, I hope I got that right in the shot, is beautiful. Flat bottom, thin spokes. It's superb. And yes, paddle shifters, which you only get in the SR. You don't get in the Platinum or the base car. So again, a reason to pick this spec. Anyhow, that's that. Time for the drive. Okay, while I'm thinking about it, I was just mentioning visibility, and I forgot to note that the rear visibility is horrible in this car. I mean, not that you absolutely necessarily need it because you have a backup camera, but let's just say you're driving, right, on your boulevard or whatever, and you look behind you, and all you can see is, you know, from the nose up for the driver behind you, and you think that person is tailgating you, and in fact, there are 3 or 4 car lengths behind you. That can become annoying, or you will get used to it as you adapt to the car after you pick it up. One of the things that I like the most about the Altima, obviously now the snow is all gone, so I haven't really had an opportunity to evaluate the all-wheel drive system per se, but Nissan does enjoy putting, you've probably seen this in the past, tracks on some of their all-wheel drive vehicles for winter driving events, and obviously they did it with the Altima and it worked. As far as I know, nothing broke, nobody died. So look, it's plenty sufficient enough for typical wintry driving conditions. I mean, it's a reactive system, it's fine, it's intelligent and all of that. The thing that I really like about the current generation Altima, is the ride quality. I'd forgotten how supple the chassis tune is. I mean, it's independent in the front, multi-link in the rear, but there's a lot of dampening or a lot of damper travel involved in the way this thing is laid out. And despite the 19-inch wheels with the teeny tiny sidewalls, this thing is exceptionally comfortable. It's at least as comfortable, I'd say, as a Camry and any other sedan in this segment. Now, one of the principal differences, I kind of touched on it, between Canada and the US, is that Canada has all-wheel drive as standard, which means that it is only available with one engine, which is Nissan's well-used 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine. There is another engine available, variable compression turbocharged four-cylinder engine, but is only available with front-wheel drive models in the US and possibly other markets, which we don't get. And honestly, I don't think we're missing much as far as that's concerned. It is a punchy engine. I did drive it at the launch event for this car 4 years ago already. It's fine, but look, all-wheel drive I think is more important. The 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine produces 182 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 178 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 RPM. So it's right up there in the average with anything you might get over at Subaru or even Mazda with their 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine, and so on and so forth. The big difference, well, not to Subaru anyway, is that the only available transmission is a CVT. Like most CVTs, I'm just getting every light, no luck. Now, like most CVTs, I mean, when you get on the throttle with intent, the multiplication factor is, or gives you the impression that you're really launching hard, but the reality is that you're just taking off, and the acceleration tapers off as you go up and up in the rev range. And if you're kind to the throttle, well, and I'm kind of surprised, the CVT in the Altima behaves kind of like an older CVT where it holds engine speeds. So at lower speeds, like I'm doing 50 kilometers an hour now, the engine is droning. Well, I just backed off the throttle, but I was close to 2,000 RPM, and it's just brrr. That's what it does. Not exactly the best feeling, but not so unusual for CVT. Going into sport does kind of offset that, but as far as acceleration is concerned, it doesn't change much. The CVT, I mean, I'm 3/4 down. The faux shifts are crisp-ish. Wow, I really am getting absolutely every traffic light this time. It's the weather. It's just, that's what it is. Oh, look, I'm trying to find a whole bunch of things to say about the CVT, and it just behaves like a CVT. I mean, my return fuel consumption so far is just over 10 liters per 100 kilometers, but the majority of the driving I've been doing all week has been in the city. So the combined average of just over 8 liters per 100 kilometers, I can potentially believe it, with one caveat: if there's, if it's really cold outside or there's snow, then the reality is you're going to be pushing at least 9 liters per 100 kilometers. I mean, if you aim for 10, you'll be fine. Let's put it that way. Bottom line, in the mid-size sedan segment, which is shrinking almost yearly, I mean, you don't have that many options, but among the few remaining is the Toyota Camry. And It too has all-wheel drive with a 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just the benchmark. It might not be the prettiest inside or out. In fact, this is probably a better looking car both inside and out, but you can't argue against the Camry other than the fact that it's called Camry, right? It's kind of like the Corolla thing, but I mean, definitely, definitely I would consider an Altima over any of the two Koreans, the Sonata or the K5, despite how value-packed and impressive those cars are. And among the Japanese, I mean, the Mazda 6 is done. So that leaves the Accord, which I don't know how much, I don't know. The answer is Camry. This could be in the top 3 easily, only because there are so few left. And that's it. There you go.